I stood in the dean's office, feeling his intense, scrutinizing gaze on me. My anxiety was growing. My heart pounded in my chest. I clutched the folder of documents tightly, the ones I was supposed to deliver. He must not find out who I am. Nicholas Carter leaned against the edge of his desk, his piercing blue eyes fixed on me. "You can leave it here," he said, indicating a spot on the desk beside him. I hesitated as I stepped forward, regretting 100 times over that I had accepted this task. "What's your name again?" I lowered my gaze, avoiding eye contact. "Anna Reed," I replied. As soon as I moved closer, he grabbed my hand and pulled me towards him. I had no time to react before I found myself sprawled on the desk, pinned under his powerful body, while the papers from the folder scattered on the floor around us. "Lies," he murmured, his lips inches from mine. I exhaled sharply, feeling the smooth surface against my back. Anxiety coursed through me. My chest rose and fell rapidly, catching his attention. Nicholas hovered over me, firmly positioned between my thighs as I stared into his eyes. Handsome, unpredictable, dangerous. The weight of his body, the warmth of his breath with a hint of whiskey and chocolate, both confused and mesmerized me. This is dangerous. It has to stop. I tried to pull away, but he swiftly caught my wrists, pinning them above my head with one hand. "I don't know what you're talking about," I whispered in the dim, silent office. A smug grin spread across his face, and in the next moment, his hand slid up my thigh, under the short hem of my skirt. An involuntary shiver ran through me. I was afraid to move and bit my lip hard, feeling his fingers glide slowly over my skin, inching closer to forbidden territory. No one has touched me there before. A strange sensation grew along with the panic in the pit of my stomach, causing everything inside me to clench. "Let me go," I whispered, involuntarily arching my back. He leaned closer, our lips almost touching. "I like it when you ask, Princess," he said in a velvety voice, and I froze, looking into his mesmerizing amber eyes. He knew who I was. "Do you know what happens to runaway princesses?" he taunted, and I squeezed my thighs together tighter. His hand moved to my shoulder and then gently ran along the curve of my collarbone, sliding under the collar of my academic blouse. "You won't," I whispered, dropping all pretense. "Is not it?" he asked mockingly, and I turned away, trying my best to maintain my dignity. "No," I whispered weakly, closing my eyes from the fleeting pleasure spreading across my skin. "Maybe I should return you to your father then?" Before I could protest, his lips touched my neck. Heat flared inside me. I took a deep breath, trying to control the growing sensations. "No," I answered again, feeling his hot lips curl into an ominous smile on my skin. "Just stop." He played with me. "Are you sure this is what you want?" the dean mocked, and I clasped my fingers above my head. "No, but maybe yes. What was happening between us seemed pure madness." "What do you want?" I asked weakly, hearing the trembling in my own voice. "You," he answered firmly, and my heart skipped a beat. I turned my head and saw the scoundrel's grin on his handsome face. Nicholas Carter, my fiancé's brother, a former mercenary, and now the dean of the most prestigious magical academy in Edenridge, where I secretly fled from my father and the upcoming wedding. I hated him to the point of trembling, to my weak knees. He doomed me to suffering by taking away the most precious person in my life. I would never forgive him, but he dared to expose me, and now my future depended entirely on him. Long blonde hair spilled across the table, and large blue eyes looked at me through fluttering eyelashes with a mixture of reproach and determination. I hovered over the graceful figure of Anna Reed, positioned carefully between her slightly spread legs, the black fabric of her stockings contrasting sharply with the polished wood. Thanks to incredibly valuable information, I discovered that the Emperor's daughter secretly attended my academy during her first year after running away from home. It is noteworthy that she managed to hide for a whole year under an assumed name without any protection. Brave little princess. The girl was breathing heavily. Her small, neat breasts rose and fell with every breath as I looked down at her. Fragile, exquisite, delicate. The academic uniform fit perfectly on her slender, slightly delicate figure, and it was impossible to take your eyes off her doll-like narrow face. A small nose, sensual lips with a charming mole in the corners, and incredible blue eyes the color of the depths of the ocean. Her velvety skin exuded a floral scent, and her helpless, innocent appearance was wildly mesmerizing. "I belong to the Empire," she whispered hoarsely, and I couldn't help but grin. In her eyes, I saw a mixture of anxiety, fear, and determination. An intriguing, cheerful young woman who I definitely won't let go. She was my only chance to escape this place. I was dean of this academy for 3 years and felt the stone walls closing in on me, threatening to break my spirit with monotony. I don't belong here. I was wasting my time, caught in a cycle of repetitive tasks and fleeting moments of distraction. The manna tingled pleasantly on my fingers as I tilted my head, admiring the sight before me. Suddenly, something intrigued me. I slowly ran my fingertips along the curves of her graceful breasts, releasing a gentle spell that sent a slight chill through her delicate skin. She exhaled sharply, arching slightly, and I grabbed her chin with my fingers, looking at her parted lips. "Well, Arya Wren?" I called her by her real name. "You belong to me." Her determination was impressive. She flinched at my touch, her eyes wide and filled with a mixture of challenge and fear. Her vulnerability was obvious, but so was her strength. Arya's breath caught in her throat, her chest heaving slightly. "You can't keep me here," she whispered, although her voice shook with uncertainty. "Oh, but I can," I muttered in a gentle but firm voice. "You see, Arya, this academy is my territory, and within these walls my word is law." She trembled as my fingers touched her arm, exploring the soft skin. "I'll find a way to leave," she said, although her voice was less convincing than she probably intended. A dark laugh escaped my lips. "You can try, Princess, but know that I will always be watching. And when you need help, I will be there." A mixture of anger and fear flashed in her eyes. "Why are you doing it?" I leaned closer, my breath warming her skin. "Because you are special, Arya. You are my chance to make a difference, and I intend to protect you." Her defiance was admirable, but I saw cracks in her resolve. She was scared, and rightly so. I was her protector, and she was under my care. I moved my hand lower, stopping on her wrist, feeling the warmth of her pulse on my palm. She exhaled sharply, and the sound made me tremble. "You will learn to trust me, Arya," I whispered with a soft promise. "And in time, maybe you'll even see that I'm here to help." Her eyes widened, and a single tear rolled down her cheek. "You're different than I thought." I smiled a gentle, reassuring smile. "Perhaps, but I am the one who holds your future in my hands. Remember that." With that, I let go of her wrist, stepping back to give her space. This was just the beginning. Arya Wren was under my protection, and nothing would change that. In the depths of her gaze, I saw a glimmer of something else: hope, determination, perhaps even a hint of understanding. Our journey together had just begun, and I was determined to see it through, keep her safe, and guide her toward her true potential. Arya sat up slowly, her hands still shaking. "What do you want from me?" she asked, her voice becoming even. I took a step back, giving her room to breathe. "I want you to succeed, Arya. To succeed in this academy and beyond. You have a unique gift, and it needs to be developed." Her eyes narrowed slightly, suspicion clouding her features. "And what will this give you?" I met her gaze firmly. "Your success is my success. This academy exists to shape the future, and you, Arya, are part of that future." She seemed to be considering my words, the tension in her shoulders easing a little. "I don't trust you," she admitted. I nodded. "It's clear. Trust is earned, not given. But I promise you, Arya, I will do everything in my power to protect you and help you grow." She stood up, her posture still wary, but no longer defensive. "I'll make you do it." I watched her walk out of the office, determination sparkling in her eyes. Arya Wren was a force to be reckoned with, and I couldn't wait to see what the future held for her. I felt the tension building, the desire to lose control and take revenge on this princess for everything her father had done. Her father placed me here because he felt threatened by me, but he never imagined that his precious daughter would end up in my hands. Yielding to temptation, I carefully lifted her chin, intending to taste those soft pink lips. "We can't," she suddenly whispered, and I stopped, feeling a mixture of irritation and disappointment. I hated being contradicted, and felt like I was being denied a tantalizing treat that was dangling right in front of me. "You are the dean of this academy, and I—" "Princess," I interrupted mockingly, letting a strand of her silky, well-groomed hair slip through my fingers. "Student," she corrected, involuntarily licking her lower lip. "And my new name is Anna Reed." I grinned as I listened to her melodious voice, fully aware that if I didn't stop now, it would be hard to stop later. "Well, Anna," I said meaningfully, looking into her face, "we'll make a deal. I will allow you to study at this academy, at the risk of being branded a traitor to the Empire. And you?" I paused, increasing the tension, and she froze in my arms, looking into my eyes. She was unlike anyone else in this damned academy. I couldn't explain it, but she exuded a certain grace and wisdom. "What do you mean?" she asked nervously, disturbing my thoughts. "You will never say no to me again," I replied ambiguously, and she swallowed hard, her worried gaze flickering over my face. I could get lost in her blue eyes. The incredible depth of color completely enveloped me. "I know who you really are, Alexander," she said suddenly, without moving. "I know what you did. My father told me." "How intriguing," I murmured, moving slightly to free her wrists and then gently grasping her hips with both hands. "You are ruthless, dishonest, a cruel mercenary," she whispered, breathless, pressing her palms to my shoulders. "You can't be trusted. Then you can refuse and wait for Thomas and your father to come here." "Yes, I knew about it too. She was engaged to my younger brother, but ran away from him a year ago, doing me a great favor. If he had married her and received the title before me, he would have become the High Mage of the Empire, not me. Thomas won't like what I tell him. We can tell him together, Princess. And while we're at it, we can ask why he hasn't taken your virginity yet," I said calmly, and Anna bit her lip in shame, her nails lightly digging into my chest. I suddenly wanted to excite her even more. I smiled smugly, enjoying the way my fingers roamed lightly and gently over her smooth skin, sending goosebumps down her spine. "Because he was afraid of my father," she admitted, blushing even more. "This was the difference between my brother and me." "Then I will tell your father that I slept with you." She almost gasped, feeling my fingers brazenly slide under the delicate lace of her underwear. "It's not true," she whispered, throwing her head back. "Not yet. So warm, so inviting." "You won't say that," she exclaimed, as if doubting. "Is not it?" I objected, and my voice was a mixture of challenge and amusement. "You see, Anna, at this academy, under my supervision, things work differently. You have secrets, and I have mine. We can either be adversaries or form an alliance." Her eyes widened, and I realized the weight of my words. She was between a rock and a hard place, and she knew it. Her body trembled slightly under my touch, a mixture of fear and something else she couldn't quite name. "Alliance?" she repeated, trying to speak more evenly. "Yes, union. You keep my secrets, and I will keep yours. Together we can get through this treacherous land and come out stronger on the other side." She was silent for a moment, considering her options. Then, taking a deep breath, she nodded. "Okay, alliance," she agreed, her voice firm despite the uncertainty in her eyes. "Good choice," I said, squeezing her hips lightly in confirmation. "Now let's seal our agreement." I leaned in, my lips brushing hers, promising what was to come, sealing our destinies in a dance of power and mystery. "I'm not afraid of your father, Anna," I whispered into her lips, while my finger spread the moisture along her delicate folds. "To me, he's just another obstacle in the way." Unwittingly, she started moving towards me, sensually shifting her weight from foot to foot. I could barely contain myself. "And you'll never say no to me again," I firmly reiterated, and the princess let out a sweet moan. Blood surged in my veins, my member throbbing painfully in my pants, longing to break free and take this girl right on the table. But I held back, trying not to lose control. "Yes, yes," she whimpered in response, closing her eyes, and I decided to give her the satisfaction her body so desperately craved. She needed to understand that deceiving me in my own academy came with consequences. I entered her with 2 fingers, feeling the delicious tightness, and then applied a bit of pressure to the right spot. Anna shuddered in my arms, emitting a loud, pleasurable moan like none I'd heard before. Damn, these games were getting me worked up. I wasn't afraid of the Emperor, and certainly not my younger brother, but I needed to keep her hidden from everyone else to achieve my goal. "You scoundrel!" she exclaimed, breathing heavily, while I admired her flushed, half-naked form, with her hair tousled around her. "How rude!" I mockingly protested, then pulled her sharply towards me, causing her to land in my embrace. "I merely confirmed your expectations." I withdrew my hands, and Anna looked at me with a clouded gaze in her blue eyes, reflecting a spectrum of emotions: embarrassment, satisfaction, annoyance, and hatred. I thought she might cry, but not a single tear formed in her eyes. No one had ever aroused me so intensely. This forbidden desire, mixed with anticipation, fueled a wild curiosity. I hoped she hadn't learned her lesson only to repeat it again. Carefully, she stood up from the table, resting one hand on its edge. I saw how her legs were shaking, how she shyly buttoned her shirt and straightened her skirt. "So, we have a deal," I said, satisfied, and she lowered her head, causing her long strands of hair to fall over her frail shoulder. I expected accusations, tears, or even hysterics, anything, but she raised her face, and I didn't see any emotion on it, as if everything had been erased at once. She silently bent down, and as if nothing had happened, collected the scattered sheets of paper from the floor. "Your documents, Professor," she calmly answered, placing them on the table, and then, with an impassive expression on her face, she left my office, as if nothing had happened. I didn't expect this. Roses were incredibly delicate flowers, but they had very sharp thorns. Perhaps it was wise not to forget this. Several days passed, but Anna avoided me. I saw her in class, but she tried to stay away from me. The country has probably done enough to avoid my attention, but she was wrong. I couldn't forget this incident in the office. On the contrary, it only increased my interest in her. Anna was a mystery I wanted to solve. One day, when I accidentally crossed her path in the corridor, she stopped when she met my gaze. An amazing mixture of emotions flashed across her face: fear, irritation, but also something else that I couldn't name. "Professor Carter," Anna turned to me, but her voice was shaking. "Princess Anne," I replied, taking a step forward to get closer. "I need to talk to you." She looked at me nervously, made of mechanical material. What do you need?" "Let's talk somewhere alone," I suggested. "I promise I won't do anything to make you feel uncomfortable." Anna stirred, but curiosity seemed to get the better of her. "Okay," she agreed, and we headed towards my office. As we joined in and the door slammed behind us, the room suddenly became quiet. "You hardly look at me," I began, looking intently at Anna. "Why?" She lowered her gaze, avoiding meeting my gaze. I don't want you to think that I agree with what happened that day." "Don't worry," I consoled her. "I'm not going to force my company on you. But I want to understand what's going on." Anna slowly raised her eyes, and I saw painful tension in them. "It scares me that you might use this against me," she admitted. "That you might make me look bad in front of my father." My feelings for Anna became even stronger. I could understand her fear, but at the same time I was attracted to her strength and thoughtfulness. "Anna," I said, approaching her, "I don't want to cause you any more trouble, but I want to know what you think. What do you feel?" Her breathing became labored and she involuntarily retreated. I don't know what he's thinking," she admitted. "It's all so confusing." My hand touched her cheek softly and she shuddered. "Maybe we can prove it together," I suggested. And suddenly something happened between us. But this time it was different. Not tension, warmth, and understanding. Anna changed, and I saw that a light of hope appeared in her eyes. "We can continue to work on this repair together. We continue to meet secretly from everyone." Each of our meetings was like an escape from reality, like a break from the possible and expectations. We discussed our feelings, thought about the future, that we could be together without fear and secrecy. But soon our happiness was under threat. Anna's father began to suspect that something was going on between us and began an investigation. We decided that it would be better if we separated temporarily to avoid possible consequences. However, I could not forget about Anna. My life became empty without her, and I decided to act. I approached Anna's father and told him the truth about our relationship. At first he was furious, but then he realized that we loved each other and that his daughter was happy with me. Soon, Anna and I were together, but without secrets. Our love was stronger than any restrictions, and we were ready to overcome all difficulties together. This is how our story ended, a love story that declared itself with forbidden feelings, but overcame all obstacles and became happiness for both of us.